Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Ideas Exchange. Tonight, we want to look at something very interesting, something that borders on governance and leadership and how impactful that can be depending on who is leading the pack. Some few years ago, many people had concern to speak out about many things happening in our country. Today, as we speak, there is a general feeling that many Ghanaians have lost hope in the political elite. Many Ghanaians do not know the direction of this country. In fact, just recently, and of course, as early as 24 hours ago, there was a survey conducted by the Center for Democratic Governance. And according to that survey, 9 out of 10 Ghanaians think that we are moving towards the wrong direction. In fact, all these things are happening when there is that fear that Ghanaians are losing confidence in our democratic dispensation. I mean, we have since 1992 decided as a people to embrace democracy as our system of governance, which is expected to improve on our lives. But today, when you talk about democracy and governance, it appears people are becoming disappointed. But just 13 years ago, the story appeared to be different. It was different because there was somebody who led this country, and that person brought about hope. He looked like a unifier, somebody who didn't look like a fear factor or vindictive enough. And so many Ghanaians were beginning to think that this is an environment where you want to bring all hands on deck. I am referring to the late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. We all know that exactly 3 days from today, I mean Sunday, July 24th, was exactly 10 years ago when the late former President, John Evans Atta Mills, passed. And of course, he died exactly 3 days to his 68th birthday. Hearts were broken, and this is how the late president, affectionately called by many close friends as Fifi, others called him Asomdwehene, others called him Atta Mills, and of course, today's story would look at what the late former president stood for and why it is important today for the young ones and the aged, those who saw him when he was our president, lived and governed us, and why we need to let his legacy stay, and we take lessons and see how this will impact on ourselves and chart the way forward. I want you to reflect, if you have forgotten so soon, 10 years ago, how Ghanaians paid their last respect to the late former president. How Ghanaians, in fact, the whole nation was heartbroken. And that is how Ghanaians saw or paid their last respect to the late former president, John Evans Atta Mills. As we speak, the NDC, the JEA Mills Heritage, and many friends are paying their homage by eulogizing a man who stood tall, a man who governed this country for barely 3.5 years. And of course, as I've said earlier, on July 24th, 2012, he passed. And it has since been a story that many are proudly speaking to today. But the man, John Evans Atta Mills, had some strong attributes which will form part of this conversation tonight. Many people have been using adjectives to simplify the long story they want to talk about. Somebody who didn't represent polarization of a country, somebody who had a lot of trust, somebody who was God-fearing, selfless, who was not full of tension, who many described as father for all, who, again, I will repeat, was not vindictive, who was firm, incorruptible, and compassionate. And he appeared to be a leader whose presence gave people hope, whose presence put smiles on the faces of many people. And in spite of the vilification or the activities by his opponents to ridicule him, he came across as somebody who was very forgiving, full of humor, but of course, very firm in his presentations. Before I introduce my guest, I want you to reflect on some memorable, I'll call it, tapes of some of the things he spoke about, which will just reflect on what many people see him to be today. Just listen.
One should be obedient to Kwar. Obi a watsema. Ebi a wan ho brase. Akohwisam na ho mamado. Oyaza oba maye tumpon.
My name is Kwame Sefakanya. I work at Peace FM.
By the way, have you drank tea?
Mpojomanu me tea.
Munia MP Kofi Juma ha njome jina menche na yankasa. Meda wana se na waye yana wa we too. Na meda munia Kofi Juma na wa ba no wa hwe ejuma pa yere yen. I sympathize with the other parties. I sympathize with the other parties. Ask me why. If NDC Team B can perform this well in 1 year, they should wait for the Team A. When the Team A comes, they will see what is going to happen. Our economy is resilient. Madam Speaker, when you are pronouncing, Madam Speaker, when you are pronouncing such figures in billions, and I want to remind you that I didn't even know how to translate them into OPPPP.
Professor Mills was first and foremost a decent human being, an honest man, a man of character. And one thing I noticed about this young man, he danced to his own inner tune. You could not influence him.
And so you just heard the former, in fact, I'm just short of words because I'm touched anytime I have to come back to this conversation about the late former president. As we speak, there are a series of activities ongoing, and we are aware that the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage has been organizing a series of lectures. There was one which just ended in the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast. One was held earlier, in the Northern Regional Capital, and the conversations have been to raise awareness about what he stood for and why today many Ghanaians believe that if some have lost confidence in our politicians, there could be many more out there whose actions reflect patriotism, reflect commitment, reflect their conditioning to understand the fact that they have been elected to serve one common purpose for the public good and to ensure that they protect the public purse. We'll be taking a short break, and when we come back, I will introduce my guest for this evening's conversation, and then we look at what ends you have to listen as this program continues.
I'm really upset, and I think that I should let you know. I was waiting for the Anas video to be shown, and that confirmed the reports that I've been having all along. Officers of Customs, you are Ghanaian citizens. You have to help us to build a better Ghana. But if this is the kind of behavior, this is the kind of attitude that you have, you are not helping us in any way. Indeed, today, I came to express my disgust and my revulsion at the way some of you are helping to erode the benefits that we are making or we have to give to our people. You are in charge of revenue. Every day we hear reports about malpractices, people collecting bribes with careless abandon, people who think that they are entitled to take bribes. How can we get rid of corruption? I'm not saying that nobody should appreciate the work that you are doing, but when you make it a condition, somebody should give you some money before you perform your duties. I've known Customs for quite some time. I was Commissioner of Internal Revenue, and the Anas video confirmed the fears I've had for quite some time. Look at yourself. I want to talk very frankly to you. Somebody joins Customs, 2-3 years, the person is putting up a building. The person owns a car. In what organization will it take you 3 years to build? And it is not the exception. It is the rule. Very often, my Minister for Finance is worried about the fiscal gap that we have. And your duty is to collect, to display transparency in the way you operate. And I'm happy with the initiative that General Mode has taken.
So that was the late President John Evans Atta Mills, and I have that feeling as if he's still with us. I strongly believe he's still with us, perhaps sad about the Ghana we have today and what may have happened if he had had the opportunity to serve his full term and maybe another 4 years, which would have ended in 2016. But we all know what happened between the time he died and who took over, and of course the testimony is out there for people to speak to. My guest tonight is a lawyer, a gender activist, a former Minister of State, and currently the board secretary and the CEO of the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. She is Nana Oye Bampo Ado. You are welcome.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes.
So many years ago,
yes,
when you were at CHRI.
Oh, you remember?
I used to disturb you a lot.
Oh,
every day knocking at your door.
No.
And I could feel the passion with which you approached issues. Now, we have played a few fond tapes that carry the fond memories of the late former president. As we speak, we know that on Sunday, for example, the Atta Mills how do you call it, Memorial Heritage, the NDC, and well-wishers will be converging at the Asomdwe Park, as you do every year, to commemorate, and this time, the 10th anniversary. Now, when we played these old tapes, and you listen to the former president, as a former appointee and somebody who worked with him, looking at him as a father, what goes through your mind anytime you hear this?
Yes. I met President John Evans Atta Mills at the University of Ghana in 1986-87 when I was a student at the law faculty, and then also when I played hockey for University of Ghana. So there's also that personal relationship with him. As you played the clips, it was nostalgia for a true leader who held very dear to his heart and lived his life, both his personal life, his public life, in service to humanity, in service to Ghana, and in service to God. That was very clear, that was very consistent for the over 5 years, 5 decades of his years of public service. As you played the tapes, specifically the one where he went to the port. Vintage President John Evans Atta Mills, frank, honest, speaking from his heart, speaking the truth, addressing public servants also, and reminding them of why they are working, where they are working, and what they should stand for, and how they should work. Vintage, Professor Mills. So it was with a lot of nostalgia, you know. I really felt nostalgic because I was comparing President John Evans Atta Mills then and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and regrettably you cannot even compare, because President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you could say, has a deficient in leadership.
Now let's look at the late former president, who many Ghanaians would accept was often vilified, ridiculed, and there were times he turned what people used against him to something to laugh about, to ease tension. Was it a leadership style, or that was his natural demeanor?
That was his natural demeanor, and that was his leadership style, because he understood himself, he understood his purpose, and that purpose was service. That purpose was value leadership. That purpose was integrity, it was honesty, it was excellence, high standards, excellence in whatever he does and whatever he is asked to do. So he, at that point in time, was serving the people of Ghana. He understood the issues, he understood the context, and within that context, he conducted himself in a certain way. So notwithstanding the fact that at certain points in time of his service, of his presidency, he was vilified, he was insulted, he was humiliated sometimes and all that, he still focused on his purpose, and he still focused on what he had sworn on the 7th of January 2009 to do. And we saw the results in terms of the remarkable achievements and in terms of the legacies that he left.
Now, he had several names. Assom Dwehene, father, people said he was father for all. Others said his attempt to unify the nation by emphasizing that everybody is a Ghanaian and everybody must be part of the opportunities available may have been the reasons why some thought that he was a weak leader, because he didn't go tough enough on his opponents. Was it something you subscribe to, or you think many people didn't understand him at the time?
President John Evans Atta Mills was as tough as nails. I mean, if you dealt with him, or if you had a working or any other relationship with him, you'd say that he is the guy who is as tough as nails. I mean, you should actually read a script that he has marked. I mean, if you get A in his exam, in a paper that he has marked, then you are excellent par excellence. So he said it as is, but in a very respectful way. He respected other people's opinions, and there's no way that anybody would or can describe him as a weak person. The fact that he respected everybody's opinion, and the fact that he allowed diversity of opinion and spoke his mind would not in any way demonstrate that he was a weak person. He was very accommodating and very caring, and the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage has held regional lectures across the country, and it will be interesting for you to hear what ordinary people say, the accolades, the personal stories, the personal relationship he had with ordinary Ghanaians. Very amazing. And every stop, everybody has something nice. He touched the hearts and lives of so many people that is just amazing, and you just get this outpouring of love and very beautiful words and thoughts.
Now, we'll go into details about his leadership qualities that perhaps has become a topic that many think that Ghanaians who seem disappointed in our democratic governance or our political elite may not have to lose hope after all, because there could be many Ghanaians out there who are committed to patriotism, committed to ensuring that the public purse is protected for the common good. Now, let's look at the memorial lectures that you are organizing. Is the objective about telling the Atta Mills story, or the objective is about sharing a story that will have direct impact on potential leaders of tomorrow and those who may be in very sensitive positions today?
The theme for the whole 10-year anniversary is the man Atta Mills 10 years on. And when you look at the objectives, the mission of the JEA's Memorial Heritage, it would be the latter. We want to think about, we want to talk about, and we want to remember John Evans Atta Mills, his legacy, his values, what he stood for, what he did, so that this would impact on the future generation, and this would have an effect, a positive effect on our society. We want through this process to be able to create that just society that he stood for. So to interrogate the values, the standards that he adhered to, his values, his way of life. He was a staunch Christian and he had strong faith in God. So to look at all this and let this have an impact on the society. So we want to have a better society, just like how his mantra was looking for a better Ghana. So have a better society and emulate the qualities and also look at the values that he stood for and let that permeate through our society so that we have a just society. Now,
you worked directly under his administration as a Minister of State for, I think, gender...
No, I worked as a commissioner for some of the boards, but not as a Minister of State when President John Evans Atta Mills.
No, it was John Mahama that you became a minister.
Yes.
Right. So
but
thank you very much.
I was in public
service. For the correction. Yes. I sought to have mixed it up because it was almost like a transition from one regime to the other because of the sad departure of our former president. Now, working in those institutions under him as president, how influential was his leadership qualities on appointees and what they did?
Because he was a man of integrity who had certain standards and had a high sense of duty. He had been in public service for over 4 decades. His style was entrusting whatever duties and responsibilities there were to whichever officers, and every now and then getting reports and finding out exactly whether there were any challenges. But once he entrusted, for instance, we're on the Ghana AIDS Commission. So once he entrusted responsibility to a public officer or to a board with respect to the Ghana AIDS Commission, the Law Reform Commission, and the National Media Commission, these were the commissions on which I was.
You were working then?
Yes, I was working with. He would expect you to do your work, and then if you had any challenges, he was ready to support and ready to help. So he had that not really hands-on or controlling, but he would keep an eye, and he was there to support whenever. What I really loved about his style of leadership was how he was also gender sensitive, and he was always looking out for equal or equitable representation of women. And so you'd realize that during his tenure, he appointed a lot of women into public service and into public office. So that is what I really liked and about. And for me, that really stands out, that he gave women that opportunity, and that was carried on by President John Dramani Mahama also.
Now today, as CEO of the J.E. Mills Memorial Heritage, I believe that beyond your personal interaction or experience working closer to his office and at those various commissions that you worked for, you may have encountered several other colleagues who have shared their story. Yes. Now, there's one unique thing that happens to every government: the influence of the political party, the influence of many other groups, and how you are able to marry all these to ensure that you are focused. At a point, there was this perception that the former president may have had some influence that may have been distracting him. At the same time, you may have a political party with all the expectations from the office of the president, which will trickle down to the ordinary people. Did the late former president appear to be somebody who was going to succumb to these kinds of pressures?
No.
Or ever did?
No, he wouldn't. Knowing him, he wouldn't succumb to pressures. He was a very listening president. So he would listen, he would accommodate, but very principled in terms of what his focus and what the mission and what had to be done. So in that respect, he would get the job done. He was, however, not flippant and not disrespectful, and he did not disregard other opinions. So he was keenly aware of the strategic role of the NDC and the political party within the context of governance, and was also keenly aware of the strategic role of former President Jerry John Rawlings, and he had been a vice president. But then, due to his style of leadership, he was able to accommodate the party, and he was also able to accommodate whatever the relationship with President Jerry
Were there
John
times
Rawlings.
He became frustrated or angry at his appointees? Because if you look at the clip we played about his encounter with the SEPS officials at the Tema Port, you could tell viciously angry, frustrated, disappointed president who felt that monies that should come to the public purse for the use for the development of this country appear to be siphoned into private pockets, and that was very visible. Was it cutting through his government where those who obviously were doing the wrong things were brought to account?
That port incident was singular and stood out, very interesting, because if you watch the clips of his, you wouldn't see
much of
that posture. But I wouldn't say he was angry, no. I would say he was speaking the truth. He was saying it as is and being brutally honest. So it was the fact that he was being brutally honest with the public officers and telling them as is, and communicating the impact of their inefficiency or the wrong things they were doing, how that was having an adverse impact on the economy and how that was adversely affecting their ability to serve Ghanaians. So at that point, for that particular encounter, he was being brutally frank and honest with public officers. I've never seen him angry or make an outburst about one thing. He was a very matured person, and in terms of emotional intelligence, I'll score him very, very high. So he had his own unique style of managing situations, however critical and however sensitive. So you remember terminology or terms like Ziwufi Asem, or you can even remember his public statement on LGBT. There again, he spoke his mind. He was very honest with his personal views and how he, as president, thought that we should handle or address that situation.
I want to play a tape, and this tape reflects the time when it appeared as if the party was angry with justices of the Supreme Court over a case.
Yes.
And then there was this Meet the Press series, and there was a question by Kobe Fiagbe, and there was a cut in that story.
Yeah, there was a cut in that story.
Let's listen.
Yes.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Okay, then come and use this.
It's working.
If they can, it's all right. What can tell you answer that?
Yeah, Mr. President, there is this thing going around that you are working towards the removal of the Chief Justice. How true is that rumor, and do you have any such intention to work for the removal of the Chief Justice? Thank you.
Please stay where you are. Look at my face very carefully. Listen to my voice. Do I look and sound like a cat hunter?
So that was the late former president. And for many of you who may not have been following politics at the time, you'd realize that many times you have political parties trying to have influence on government. And if there's a government who wants to be populist, he's sometimes swayed by the sentiments of the political party, and they take actions that do not reflect the collective of that country. And in this case, we are looking at Ghana. We have had instances where people have been suspicious that systems are not running the way they should because institutions are being compromised. But if you look at this particular narrative, I remember the late Dr. Kwabena J had publicly said that they wanted the Chief Justice to be removed from office. And in one of the narratives, he said there are several ways to kill a cat. But in that response, the president obviously disagreed with the party. Is that good leadership or betrayal of his party?
You see, the very interesting thing about this this particular one, and even across President John Evans Atta Mills' tenure as president, was the way he even couched sensitive, controversial, difficult issues. So look at how look at how he was standing. He was standing direct, facing the journalists. It's like, I'm here, ready to answer whatever questions you have for me. And so Kobe asked his question. He walked to Kobe, takes off his glasses, looks directly in Kobe's face and says, and emphasizes, look at me. And then, so it's like, focus on me and listen to what I have to say. For me, I'm sure that moment, if the Chief Justice was watching that episode, he or she would know. It was a she.
And that was the Chief Justice Georgina Wood.
Yes,
at the time.
Would be assured and know that President John Evans Atta Mills had reposed confidence in her, and she would be assured that there was nothing like she being hunted down or anything. But he couched it in a way, the idiomatic whatever expression, that it didn't take away from the party. And if you understood, you would understand, you would think about it. And I think that was the beauty of the way he was able to use language to sort of not only demystify, but even reduce tension and get people thinking, very thought-provoking expressions and use of language, which was quite remarkable.
But his opponents created the impression that he perhaps was weak, was timid. And you remember this Ochati, a conversation where there is this perception that in 2004, the NDC won the elections and Jacob Echi-Bilamte, the late, called the elections at the time. And so
2004,
2004, and then the former president was expecting that because he was the presidential candidate, he will openly speak out to what was happening at the time. And so we even played one of the tapes, the fond memories, where he was engaging Kwame Sefakai, and the question was Echawuti, and I will play it back as we move along. Was he that bold person who demonstrated it, or some of them came by chance, and that is why many saw him as the humble, too quiet, not too... it was not most likely to see him out there, besting out and so on?
He was humble, he was very respectful, he was hardworking, he was focused, high performer, had a very high sense of duty. He believed in himself. He knew why he was in that seat of authority, that seat of the president. He understood very well his purpose of being the president of the Republic of Ghana. He understood very well what it meant to be the president of Ghana. He was humane, he was kind, he was gentle, and he knew that he was there to serve, and he served. Of course, some critics would say denigrating, would make denigrating comments, and
even when they knew he was not too strong or well, they made fun out of that
for obvious purposes.
But in today's Ghana, as the surveys are putting out, where you go out and speak to the average person, Ghana today is full of tension. Ghana today reflects vindictiveness and wish for vengeance. Ghana today is seeing a lot of bad governance, what people describe as a country that is failing, i.e. corruption, blah, 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 and so on. What could have been missing?
Well, reps ipsa locator. We all see. We all can compare. We all, due to his style of leadership and the way he led Ghana with purpose and significance, we saw that it was actually the fastest growing economy globally. We saw the benefits. We saw his remarkable achievements in the economy, in infrastructure, in social services, in governance, and stability.
Under 3.5 years.
And peace.
Some would ask, for example.
43 months. In 43 months, we saw the changes. We all have read the achievements, and we can compare to now what is happening. That today I'm even reading that salaries, we may not be able to pay salaries. We saw what happened in Ashanti region yesterday, like you said,
the majority leader went there,
the
and
rising
then his
tensions,
and so on forth.
The insecurities, the frustrations, people are finding it difficult to make ends meet, the high levels of unemployment and what have you. Because of what? we've seen the patronage, the family and friends, and several other vices that have gone on. And so we can make a comparison. So would we have quality, value leadership? Would we have humility? Would we have somebody who understood his purpose and knew exactly why he stood on 7th of January 2009 and swore by the Bible and swore to actually be that president of Ghana, as compared to somebody who even during his swearing in, he plagiarized his speech, and that is very significant because he's plagiarized so many other things, and we find ourselves in a terrible mess in Ghana, and it's simply failed leadership, failed leadership. So, and that is why people are reminiscing, people are nostalgic, and people are looking back 10 years ago and looking at what type and quality of leadership we had in President John Evans Atta Mills.
Yeah, there's no doubt about the fact that when he was president, many people felt like the country was not as tensed as it could be, because he came along as somebody who would always put a smile on people, and people were at ease around him. Good. Now, let's move towards what the Atta Mills, JEA Mills Memorial Heritage is doing. I know that this Sunday, for example, there's going to be an activity at the Asomdwe Park. And so there has been a lot of conversation about what you have done and how that is reflecting on the lives of the average person, which you have tried to do. We have categories of people. We have students in our tertiary institutions who are emerging as tomorrow's leaders. We have people in various sections of our economy and institutions who are also operating. How is the JEA Mills Memorial Heritage targeting the potentials there to ensure that we see people growing up to emulate what stood as an exemplary leadership that didn't allow institutions to whip it, but was rather using his persona to get institutions to work?
Yes. When this JEA Mills Memorial Heritage was conceptualized by the friends of President John Evans Atta Mills, his family, those he mentored, and several other well-meaning Ghanaians. We have the chair of our advisory council as Togbe Afede, Mr. Kwame Impienim, and Mr. Andani, and Esther Ofe-Abuaji, and several others. And
these are very influential people in Ghanaian society who themselves have earned that integrity. Yes. Because Kojo Impienim, Kwame Impienim, for example, many people today see as somebody who has demonstrated leadership. Esther Ofe-Abuaji, then with the local government institute, for example, many people have known him very well. Togbe Afede was in the news recently when he had to return, for example, his egg crusher and so on. Now, it's good all these people are on board.
Yes.
But what are we seeing on the ground?
Yes. So, what are our objectives? What do we set out to do? We are focusing principally on 3 areas that Professor Mills excelled in. One is legal education. We know for over 25 years he was a lecturer both at the University of Ghana Business School and at the then Faculty of Law, University of Ghana, and the Ghana Law School. He taught me company law, he taught me taxation, also tax law, and several others, right up to the Supreme Court. I'm sure almost everybody there was lectured by President John Evans Atta Mills. So we are focusing on legal education, how we can also look at legal education, look at the role and influence of John Evans Atta Mills in legal education, and actually we've even done some awards at UHAS Ho, the best students, sandwich students. So we're looking at that area. We're also looking at tax. We know he was the commissioner for the Internal Revenue Service, and he actually reformed and turned around the Internal Revenue Service and created the Ghana Revenue Authority. He was in charge of that before he was selected by Jerry John Rawlings to be his vice president, and from 1996 and what have you. So we're also looking at tax. So even when we had our lecture for the 5 northern regions, the 5 regions in the north, we had Dr. Charles Abugri speaking on the Man Evans Atta Mills and tax. And it was really very interesting. Then the third leg is actually sports. He was a sportsman. He played for Ghana, the national hockey team, and also in the twilight of his years, he also played for the veterans, the hockey team. So we're actually having a tournament in his memory. It's starting tomorrow at the National Hockey Pitch, and then it will culminate, it will end on Saturday from 8 o'clock till 12 noon at the National Hockey Pitch. So he was very interested in sports. Actually, Honorable Neil Lanty van der Poy and I were mentored by him. That was where I actually came very close to him, because I was a member of the hockey team.
You look too soft to be a hockey player.
I was playing hockey for the University of Ghana, the female hockey team.
Okay.
So, and he was the head of the sports association. So we had to. So he sort of helped us with the training coach Agra and all that. And Neil Lanty was actually playing football also. So that's where, in fact, that was where I started having a very personal relationship.
My guest this evening is Nana Oye Bampo Addo, Board Secretary, CEO of the JEA Mills Heritage Memorial Heritage, JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. We'll be taking a short break. When we come back, we shall touch briefly on a controversy that brewed since yesterday, but I understand it's been sorted out and there's no cause to worry as far as Sunday's event is concerned. But she will pass a brief comment on it, and then we would also look at what impact John Evans Atta Mills, now the late, has had on NDC leadership. Because whether we like it or not, he belongs to a group, and how that is reflecting on the leadership of the party, which possibly can be in government tomorrow, and the assurances that lessons have been learnt, and for that reason, Ghana cannot be crying too much, because many people think that things seem to be falling apart. I'll be back.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. Best Wine is your one-stop wholesale and retail outlet for all your original favorite brands of wine, liquor, champagne at unbeatable prices. You can get discounts of up to 15% off. We provide customized solutions for your events with our event planning and catering services. Buy your well-stocked hampers from us at great prices. Best Wine is also a major distributor of natural mineral water. Locate us at number 34 Ni Norte Nyanchi Street, Jowulu, or call 050-761-3900 for delivery or for more inquiries. Best Wine, caliber of wine and liquor at its best.
Welcome back. This is Ideas Exchange on TVXYZ. Remember, this program is also repeated on Thursdays between 1 and 2 p.m. Tonight, we are looking at the man Atta Mills, his relevance, the relevance of his legacy on today's Ghana, that's governance. Today, my guest in the studio is Nana Oye Bampo Addo. She's the company, that's the board secretary, CEO of the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage. I want to be very careful so that I don't mix up the name of the heritage. And of course, we are looking at the legacy of the late former president. Many of you have heard a lot about him. Some of you may have not seen some of the clips we are playing. But on Sunday, which will be exactly the day he died 3 days before his 68th birthday. And as we speak, in about 3-4 days' time, Sunday to be specific, July 24th, the NDC, the Memorial Heritage, would be organizing a program at the what we call the Asomdwe Park. Asomdwe because the man stood for peace, and it's reflected throughout his political career and even in government when he became the most powerful person in this country. That's reflected on whatever he did. I saw it, and of course I appreciated what he stood up for. Something happened yesterday, and his brother Samuel Atta Mills spoke passionately, and we are wondering whether the heritage and of course the NDC are worried, and if the Sunday event will come off. We'll listen briefly to Sami, and then after that I will take the conversation forward with Nana Oye.
I am Makasa about President John Evans Atta Mills Negri. Now group be your friend home at Atta Mills Institute 1 year with you. Back when I was one son with Akaka, and then we wait in Danado. Now we wait in Danado. One can't share with you. Now a Ghanaian, and you may your one bra, your one mambre, or then to walk a chair with your opinion. It was your opinion, or Konokaya man to do home. Now, some maybe are penny, as some maybe are national security, as some maybe are government in there. Now, one of what two in Danada, and a body was 1 second. Another whom will be able to catch them the body or the whom will grave in them. Another ebony dream was a choir was a 2 grave in them. Eben rituals and one can say what performing over there. Why are you in there? Boy, if your friend won't go in the hole. On ye was seeing. Now, I told them at a Mills Institute, one can say ye was seeing. On your Coastal Development Authority. I wonder where the men's here. Now, Kwame Nkrumah Museum, Liam. Okay, come here as I'm another NGO, Don Shadow. President Akufo-Addo, Etudo, Papa, obey a president. Waranso, a president. Obi in camp, the Obi Onwu, no Chinebia was so grave. Yes, Bama NGO, my NGO no run.
Of course, Samuel Atta Mills has since spoken extensively to how angry, how disappointed the family has been. And of course, he sounds very proverbial in his pronunciation as far as that issue is concerned. Did it come to you as a surprise? Did you anticipate it? Is it going to affect the Sunday's event?
It's a very sad situation. And like Honorable Sam Atta Mills said, we have tradition, we have culture. And principally as Ghanaians, as Africans, we respect the dead. And when somebody dies, there is a whole process. And so it's very regrettable that the government of Ghana and the Coastal Development Authority would actually even step or tamper with the grave without due process, without being sensitive to our tradition and culture, and without informing the family. We assure Ghanaians that the J.E.A. Mills Memorial Heritage is in conjunction with the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, because President John Evans Atta Mills, as third president of the Fourth Republic of Ghana, won elections on the ticket of the NDC. And as such, the NDC is commemorating the 10 years of his demise on Sunday. There will be a wreath-laying ceremony, and that ceremony will start at 1 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday at Asomdwe Park, Christianborg, near the Christianborg Castle at Osu, right next to the Independence Square. So the NDC will conduct or will be in charge of that program, wreath-laying ceremony at 1 p.m. at Asomdwe Park. We will mark the 10 years of the past.
And
we know.
Do you anticipate the potential of some groups of people trying to frustrate that process with any other activity, and how do you intend to manage that?
There will be no frustration, there will be no obstacles, there will be no obstruction. The NDC is law-abiding. The NDC has sought the necessary approvals. The NDC has engaged with government, and the NDC is going ahead to honor, to remember, and to respect its president and its son on the 24th of July at the Asomdwe Park, exactly at 1 p.m. So I'm using your platform to invite all Ghanaians, to invite all NDC members. Come, let's remember, let's reflect on the life of President John Evans Atta Mills after 10 years of his demise. He died at 1:40 p.m. So we would all be there and also remember that significant moment when we heard that devastating, sad news on the 24th of July 2012 that our dear President John Evans Atta Mills had passed on. Okay, now before we go, the latest Afro Barometer report, in fact the CDD Ghana has carried one, and I just want a quotation here. Most Ghanaians say the country is heading towards the wrong direction. 9 out of 10 Ghanaians. That's so bad. The NDC stands out as an alternative party that can govern this country. Has Atta Mills reflected on your leaders, and is there anything to suggest that there's no cause to worry and we will change the direction, assuming that your party wins elections in 2024? If we examine very critically the Fourth Republic of Ghana, and we examine the presidents, the governments that have really and truly served Ghana, ensured their stability, ensured this economic progress, ensured economic development, socio-economic development, ensured infrastructure, expansion of infrastructure, then at every point in time, we have had progress, stability, peace, economic progress, and growth in Ghana. It has been an NDC government. Under Jerry John Rawlings, look at infrastructure. Under President John Evans Atta Mills, and then under President John Dramani Mahama. And so it is obviously crystal clear that the NDC government at any point in time has better ideas, is more passionate, is more focused on ensuring a better Ghana, and works and serves the people of Ghana, ensuring stability, ensuring progress. So that is very clear. The data is there. And we see, on the other hand, the property-owning NPP scrounging, stealing, and collecting resources for family and friends, and is about self-aggrandizement instead of serving the people of Ghana. So it is very clear, even from the Fourth Republic.
Unfortunately, we don't have much time. The program is about ending, but we cannot leave without playing back, because that is the text messages I've been receiving, some of the fond memories of the former president. Some will come with laughter and some will reflect how serious he has been. Watch this.
Or if you be obedient, obi a watsema, ebi a one who brasses, akobi sam na mamado oyaza oba mayetum pon.
My name is Kwame Sefakanya, Wake Up Peace FM.
By the way, have you drank tea?
Mpojo manu me tea.
Munia MP Kofi Juma ha njo mejina menche na yankasa. Meda wana se na waye yana wa we too. Na meda munia Kofi Juma na wa ban wa ba hwe ejuma pa yere yen. I sympathize with the other parties. I sympathize with the other parties. Ask me why. If NDC Team B can perform this well in 1 year, they should wait for the Team A. When the Team A comes, they will see what is going to happen.
Our economy is resilient. Madam Speaker, when you are pronouncing, Madam Speaker,
that was the late President Professor John Evans Atamos. Yeah. And you know, he was somebody, Ghanaian said, Wohunana, it's like they are at home. He was like a father.
Yes, he was a father.
You are not crying, you are smiling.
Yes, I'm smiling.
You are celebrating him.
Yes, because I'm just remembering, you know, like this is very classic.
But this community was a fight.
Yeah, it was a fight. It was really, you know, it became a whole, like a whole thing in Ghana. But that's how.
So 30 seconds, remember. One word for the youth especially.
For the youth, read about John Evans Mills. He was amazing. And then also come and listen to lawyer Chachu Chikata on Tuesday, the 26th of July, as he speaks on the man John Evans Mills, 10 years on. Nana Otu-Sribo will chair the lecture at Accra International Conference Center. Thank you. My name is Erica Hianyo, and she is Nana Oye Bampo Ado. She is the board secretary, CEO, JEA Mills Memorial Heritage. That's Ideas Exchange. Let's meet again next week for another interesting episode.